You need a Derby horse, and I know how to help you find one. We're getting closer to one of the biggest sporting events of the year. I'm talking about the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, the Kentucky Derby. This is a new series we're bringing to you here from FanDuel called the Race for the Rose. So you think of the Derby, they put the blanket of roses over the winning horse, but kind of bachelorette style. We're going to use the roses to find our Derby horse and who we're wagering on the first Saturday in May. So this list is going to change from week to week because the way you get into the Kentucky Derby is by running in prep races and earning points. You have to have enough points to make your way into the starting gate come race day. So these are the horses that have points so far. We'll work off of this to come up with a top 10 this week, and then we'll narrow it down as we get closer and closer to race day. Here's my number 10, Sandman. Sandman is a horse that hasn't quite broken through yet, but I've seen glimmers of really good ability from this horse. He's overcome trouble. He rallies from off the pace. I think Sandman has the tools. He just hasn't quite put it together yet. Number 9 for me is Built. Built is another horse that's pretty seasoned. I love his pedigree and I just love his tenacity, and I love how he's getting better and better with each and every race. He hasn't had that breakthrough race in the later part of the season, but I think it could still be ahead of him. Number 8 is John Hancock, winner of the Sam F. Davis for trainer Brad Cox. I'm not sure who he beat in that race, but he's a son of Constitution, seems to be improving, definitely a horse to keep your eye on. Chancer McPatrick is number 7. We haven't seen him in a while. He's targeting the Tampa Bay Derby, trained by Chad Brown. This is a horse that I think a lot of people are very high on in terms of ability, but we need to see him come back at 3 years old and see if he validates that 2-year-old form. Number 6 is Cold Battle. You have to love this horse, and his trainer, Lonnie Briley, is already the darling of the Derby Trail. He just keeps winning and he keeps getting better and better, overcoming adversity. He's a hard knocker, and he's one of those that is kind of gritty and really determined. If you like an underdog type, Cold Battle is your horse. Number 5 is Barnes, and talk about the other side of the spectrum. Barnes was a $3.2 million purchase. This son of Into Mischief, destined for greatness. He was second in his most recent race in the San Felipe. I love what we saw from him. I think he's going to keep going down the path to the Derby for Bob Baffert, but he was beaten in that prep, so let's see what he does in his next step along the road to the Derby. Number 4 for me is Burnham Square. Burnham Square is a horse who back in February, many people would have called their Derby horse. Now he took a little bit of a step back in his most recent prep, but he got very warm on the track that day. I think the atmosphere was a little bit too much for him. I haven't lost faith in Burnham Square, and I think he's a horse that you're going to see better from him in his next step. Sovereignty is number 3. Sovereignty, the winner of the Fountain of Youth. He's a horse trained by Hall of Famer Bill Mott. He definitely impressed in this race, just in obviously winning it, but he also was kind of just getting back started. I think there's more to give from Sovereignty. He could continue to improve by leaps and bounds as we get closer to race day, and that's what the Hall of Famers do. They train a horse to peak on the targeted day, and of course the targeted day is the Derby. Number 2 for me is Citizen Bull. Look, he's the 2-year-old champ from last year. He's newly turned 3 years old. He hasn't done anything wrong, and until anyone really dethrones him, you got to keep him pretty high on your list. And number 1 for me is Journalism. The winner of the San Felipe, he's a son of Curlin, out of an Uncle Mo mare for trainer Michael McCarthy, Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners. This horse was so impressive. I mean, he wasn't fully fit in the San Felipe. He ran down Barnes with authority. You have to love what you're seeing from Journalism. So he has my number 1 rose right now. But again, this list could change. More preps to come. More stories along the road to the Derby for you here in our Race for the Rose. That's our top 10 for right now. We'll check back in with an updated list in the coming days.